It has now been a full year since the death of Akira Toriyama. In his lifetime, he created tons of projects that have remained in the hearts of millions, including yours truly. When the trailer for Dragon Ball Daima was released, I'm pretty sure no one thought that it would possibly be the last time we would see a project being made by him. And I think for that reason alone, this short anime will have a very special place in the hearts of all the fans. However, even before Toriyama's passing, when the trailer was revealed, and even now that the final episode has aired, people have been really split on whether they like this anime or not. So in today's video, I am going to ignore my bias and review this anime critically and see truly how good or bad it is. And to do this, I am going to give it a 1 through 10 rating on 5 categories that I think are essential to any shonen anime. And those 5 categories are the story, the characters, the fights, the charm, and the hype. I'll explain more what each of these 5 categories mean once I get to them, but for now, let's just start from the beginning. So without further ado, this is my unbiased opinion review on Dragon Ball Daima. Oh, and yeah, spoilers ahead. So the first category is the story, aka the whole plot of the anime. And just like the rest of the Dragon Ball series, the plot is very simple, but it's fun. Daima takes place roughly a year after the Buu saga, and if you remember in the Buu saga, Dabura was killed by Majin Buu. Now, Dabura was the Demon King at the time, so now the Demon Realm doesn't have a king, so they're looking for a new one, and this little bastard named Goma ends up becoming the new one. His first course of action as the Demon King is to make sure that his reign has no obstacles. So he wants to neutralize the fighters who killed Majin Buu, this being our main cast. So he turns them all into kids, thinking that as kids they would be completely defenseless, although we know it's quite the opposite. There's also this Namekian named Neva who is extremely broken by magic standards, and he has 3, I guess you could call them robots, named Tamagamis, which all hold individual Dragon Balls. There's only 3 Dragon Balls in the Demon Realm, and the premise is that the gang have to fight all these Tamagamis to win said Dragon Balls, turn back into adults, defeat Goma, and that's pretty much it. The premise is as basic as you can imagine. I mean, it's Dragon Ball. We're not here for a One Piece story. So with that said, I think it's pretty fair to give the plot of the story a 8 out of 10. It's your average run-of-the-mill story of Dragon Ball, but it's fun and whimsical enough to keep you entertained the whole way through. Now moving on to the characters, which thankfully Daima has a lot of new ones and a lot of cool ones too. Now obviously the main one is Glorio, who is basically Dragon Ball's version of Sasuke. He's basically the navigation guy, taking the crew throughout the realms to go defeat Goma. Next is Pansy, who is essentially the series stand-in for Bulma. She's super smart and very good with technology, and she has a dad who's a king. Next is the 3 Tamagamis, who are the keepers of the Dragon Balls. In my opinion, this is probably one of the coolest additions to the series. All 3 of them have their own unique weapon, and I think the whole premise of having to go through a trial in order to get one of the Dragon Balls is really cool. Next is easily the best new addition of Daima, which are the twins of Majin Buu and Majin Ku. Both of them were created using essence of the actual real Majin Buu, but both resemble different versions of him. It's a classic stereotype where one character is strong but dumb and the other is weak but super smart. But their whole brotherly dynamic is the best part about them, honestly, and it reminds me a lot of Drake and Josh. I really hope these guys do come back in the future. They were easily the best new addition. Next we have Degisu and Orinsu, who are the brother and sister of the Supreme Kai. Degisu is your typical lapdog of the main boss, and Orinsu is a smart, evil manipulator and also a schemer, but she isn't evil in the sense of she wants to do bad things. More or less, she just has ambitions. Then there's Neva, who's the old-ass Namekian who's insanely busted. His magic powers are literally the best we've probably ever seen in the series. I mean, bro literally just casually made a non-canon transformation canon. Then there's Hybis, who's literally just stupid. He's just a dumbass character, and that's his whole arc, really. And the last new main addition is Goma, who of course is the main villain of the series, and he's really funny. I think he's the perfect antagonist for Dragon Ball, where he clearly has evil intentions and he clearly will do anything to get there, but he's funny and you never really truly see him as a threat. Overall, all of the new characters that were added to the series were honestly perfect. I would say some like Glorio and Degisu could have been explored and expanded a little more. I feel like their character arcs weren't fully used to their full potential, but that's nothing uncommon for this series. I'm gonna give the characters a 9 out of 10. The next section is fights, and Dragon Ball is known for having some of the best fights in all of fiction, and Daima is no different. Matter of fact, I think Daima might have the best overall lineup of fights. They're all bangers. Easy 10 out of 10. The fourth criteria I want to get into is charm, and I know a lot of you might be a little confused as to what I mean by that, and charm means a couple of things, not just one. First of all, the animation. I think the animation of Daima is easily probably the best we've had in the series besides the Broly movie. But I think another aspect of charm is the comedy. Now, I think that comedy in a TV or a movie or a show isn't necessarily a good or a bad thing. I think it's a tool, and however the author or creator uses the tool, I think that's what determines whether the comedy is bad or good. Since the very beginning of the series, Toriyama has always written comedy elements into Dragon Ball. Some of the comedy being awkward moments and some of the comedy being sexual or raunchy jokes. And thankfully, both of them come back in Daima. And I think the last big element that goes into the charm of a series is the whole setting of the place. Now, Daima takes place within the 3 unique worlds of the Demon Realm. Each of them are different and unique and charmful in their own way. They're deadass literally just Mario worlds. And the final boss area where they fight literally looks like a whole ass domain expansion from Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, I think Daima blows it out of the water in all 3 aspects of its charm. So I think it's only fair to give it another 10 out of 10. Now, the last final criteria I want to talk about is the hype. Now, the word Dragon Ball and hype go together like peanut butter and jelly. But how truly hype were Daima's moments? Well, for one, Vegeta finally uses Super Saiyan 3, which has been something that we have joked about him not having for years. But what's easily going to be remembered the most about Daima is the fact that they finally made Super Saiyan 4 canon. Now, I know many people, myself included, don't really like GT all that much. Like, I think we could all agree it was not the best written. But even the biggest GT haters have to agree that Super Saiyan 4 was a pretty cool transformation. And for it to finally become essentially real to the series was pretty hype. Now, sadly, we don't get to see a Dragon Fist. However, Goku does use a Kamehameha that literally goes through all 3 of the Demon Realms. Like, it literally breaks through all 3 of those realms. I swear, power scalers are gonna have a fucking field day with that shit. And on top of that, like I already stated, the fights are all amazing. So I think, again, for 3 times in a row, I'm gonna have to give the hype of Dragon Ball Daima a 10 out of 10. So now, with all that being said, what do I rate Dragon Ball Daima? Me personally, I would rate it an 8 out of 10. I know all the criteria makes it seem like it would be a 9 or even a flat out 10, but there is a couple of issues with Daima that I did not mention in those criteria. For one, it does feel like, even though it's only 20 episodes, it does feel like there is a bit of filler in those 20 episodes. To give you guys an example, their plane breaks down, I shit you not, like 5 times for no reason. But I think the main issue that a lot of people are going to end up having about Daima is its continuity issue. Now, Daima, as far as we're concerned, is officially canon. However, it takes place before Super. Now, the issue with that is that Super Saiyan 4 has been confirmed in the last episode to be a form that Goku can literally just train to obtain. People thought that it would be something only unique to the Demon Realm, but he makes it seem like he can control it. Which begs the question, why did he not use it against Beerus? Or why has it never shown up in Super at all? Also, not to mention that the end cutscene of Daima makes it seem almost as if it's open-ended. In other words, it makes it seem like there's a possible season 2 that could be on the way, or that it could possibly come back in Super in some way. However, we don't exactly know how that will be implemented since, of course, Toriyama has passed and we don't know exactly how they're even going to continue the series or who will. But in my personal opinion, I think this is more of an issue towards the future of Dragon Ball and how that will look versus an issue of Daima itself. I think that depending on what they do with Daima in the future, however they choose to implement it into Super, or if we truly will get a season 2 of Daima, I think that's what will truly determine how this series will rank. But for now, I would personally give it an 8 out of 10. Depending on how the future holds it, it could go up to a 9 or even drop down to a 7. But I think overall as a whole, the series was a perfect welcome, and it's the perfect final project by our GOAT. So yeah, that's my final review of Daima. I give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's a perfect new introduction towards new fans and the new generation, and it's a must-see for old fans, for sure. But let me know in the comments, what did you think about Dragon Ball Daima if you have seen it? Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. But can we talk about the fact that in order to defeat Goma, they have to hit him 3 times in the back of the head? Bro really thinks he's a Mario boss.